This was the single greatest year for bridal fashion in living memory. Two of the biggest couture houses on earth each produced a wedding dress for a global pop star. And in both cases, it was the debut bridal commission from a brand new creative director. That has never happened in the same summer before. Every date, designer, and venue in this video has been checked. Where something is only reported, I will say so. 20 brides. Counting down from 20 to 1. Let's go. Jordyn Woods. Married Saturday, 15th August 2026, California. We open on a bluff facing the Pacific. Jordyn Woods married Carl Anthony Towns. Woods, 28, wore a white strapless corseted gown with a full lace-embellished skirt, finished with a lace-trimmed scarf, a sleek low bun, and a long chiffon veil. Towns wore a classic black tuxedo. The most circulated image of the day is the two of them at the altar, mid-dip. That silhouette has deep roots. A strapless corseted bodice with an expansive skirt is essentially the 1950s new look proportion. Cinched waist, dramatic volume, updated with modern lace. What made it hers was the scarf. A lace-trimmed scarf is not traditional bridal wear. It reads as styling rather than costume, and it is the difference between a bride wearing a dress and a bride directing a look. The dress code was black tie, and the guest list crossed entertainment and sport in a way almost nothing does. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, Justin and Hailey Bieber, Michael B. Jordan, Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor, Teyana Taylor, and Towns' Knicks teammates in force. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, 6 years together. Instagram official in September 2020. He proposed on Christmas Day 2025 on the roof of the Empire State Building, and she announced it with 2 words, Merry Christmas. In March, she posted from her bachelorette in St. Barth's in a white swimsuit with Mrs. Towns embroidered across the back in red cursive. And the detail that sets the tone for this entire countdown. Per the New York Post, guests left with hoodies reading Married in 5, a nod to Towns' championship run, plus Fanatics gift bags and In-N-Out cups, black tie ceremony, burger cups at the end of the night. That is 2026 in a sentence. Hash number 19. Brooke Hyland, married, February 2026. Brooke Hyland, who grew up on camera on Dance Moms, married Brian Thalman. She wore a strapless mermaid gown by Ines DeSanto, and she wore her mother's veil. That second detail is why she is on this list, because it is the oldest idea in bridal fashion, and almost nobody uses it anymore. Before the white wedding dress existed as a convention at all, before Queen Victoria made white the default in 1840, wedding clothing was overwhelmingly inherited, reworn, and remade. A bride did not commission a dress. She wore the best thing in the house, and very often, the best thing her mother had worn before her. The gown was not designed to be photographed once. It was designed to survive. The modern celebrity wedding is the exact opposite of that. Custom. Single use. Built for one body on one specific afternoon, and increasingly never seen again. So when a young woman who has been filmed since childhood chooses a brand new designer gown and then puts her mother's veil on top of it, she is doing something the industry has spent a century forgetting how to do. She is putting one object in the frame that is older than she is. Keep that in mind as we climb. Almost every bride ahead of her made a new thing. She carried an old one. Number 18. Natalie Kuckenburg, marriage announced, Monday, 13th July 2026. Natalie Kuckenburg married the actor Paul Wesley and confirmed it with an Instagram caption reading, Mr. and Mrs. and the best boy Greg. Here I need to be careful with you because this wedding has been reported in ways that do not fully agree. Confirmed, the marriage, and the date of the announcement. Confirmed, she is a model, he is best known for the Vampire Diaries, and they had been together several years. Reported, with variation between outlets, that it was a straightforward civil ceremony assembled in roughly 24 hours. That the guests included Charli XCX, Emily Ratajkowski, and Alex Consani. And there is genuine inconsistency across sources about when the relationship began. Some place it in 2023, others describe a longer partnership. I am flagging that rather than smoothing it over, because smoothing it over is how bad fashion history gets written. What is not in dispute is the ring, and it earns the entry on its own. Wesley proposed in June 2024 with a 5-carat black diamond. Black diamonds in engagement rings are still genuinely unusual. Historically, they were considered industrial rather than precious. Too dark, too opaque, impossible to grade against the clarity standards that govern white diamonds. Their rehabilitation as a fine jewelry stone is recent, and it has been driven almost entirely by exactly this kind of choice: a bride who does not want the traditional signal. 5 carats of black diamond, followed by a civil ceremony reportedly organized in a day. Whatever the precise timeline turns out to be, the aesthetic is consistent, and it is a useful corrective to the idea that every wedding this year needed a year of vendor meetings and a mood board. Number 17. Married Tuesday, 21st of July, 2026. Indianapolis. Celebration Saturday, 1st August, 2026. Dallas. Texas Jade Jones married Tyrese Halliburton twice in 11 days, and the contrast is instructive. 21st of July. The marriage license office in downtown Indianapolis. Jones wore a white dress, white heels, and carried white flowers. Halliburton wore a black t-shirt, black trousers, and black Puma suede classics. Their witnesses included his mother Brenda and Pacers assistant coach Isaac Jacob. She announced it herself in 4 words: "It's courthouse official." Then on the 1st of August, the actual celebration, a private weekend in Dallas. Friday night was billed as the night before. Saturday was Healy Ever After. Pacers teammates, coaches, and staff attended alongside family. This structure is going to come up several more times as we climb, so let's name it now. Historically, the legal act and the social act of marriage were the same event. The split, legal ceremony first in ordinary clothes, then a separate celebration weeks later, used to be a practicality. In 2026, it became an aesthetic choice. It lets a couple own the legal moment privately in whatever they happen to be wearing, and then treat the celebration purely as production. Jade Jones did it in a white sundress next to a man in a t-shirt. 2 brides much further up this countdown did the same thing in couture. The backstory. They met in 2019 at Iowa State. He was a freshman guard, she was on the cheerleading squad. Roughly 7 years together. He proposed in July 2025 at Hilton Coliseum, the Cyclones' home arena, on crutches and in a cast, recovering from the torn Achilles he suffered in Game 7 of the 2025 NBA Finals. The lights went down and a sign lit up behind them. She commented on the post calling herself the future Mrs. What the Hallie. Number 16. Emma Roberts. Married Saturday 25th of July 2026. A private residence in Idaho. Emma Roberts married the actor Cody John in an intimate outdoor ceremony. That is a short set of facts, and the shortness is the point. Roberts has been a public figure since childhood. Nickelodeon, then American Horror Story, then Scream Queens, with a personal life reported on relentlessly for the better part of 2 decades. And when she got married, she did it at a private house in Idaho. Idaho is not a celebrity wedding destination. It is not Lake Como. It is not Cabo. It is not Sicily. There is no paparazzi infrastructure, no helicopter tradition, no hotel staff to leak a guest list. Choosing it is a logistical decision as much as a romantic one, and it belongs to a pattern that runs right through this countdown. Watch where 2026's weddings actually happened. A private residence in Idaho, a cave in Tennessee, a village church in Gloucestershire, a civil ceremony in a Portuguese seaside town, a countryside hotel in Surrey. The destination wedding of the 2010s was about the backdrop. The more recognizable, the better. You chose Positano or Santorini or Lake Como precisely because the location did narrative work for you the second the photographs landed. The private wedding of 2026 is the exact inverse. It is about choosing somewhere with no visual signature at all, so that nothing in the frame tells the story on your behalf. The venue becomes deliberately illegible. Roberts understood the assignment before most of them did, and got a wedding almost nobody photographed. Number 15. Melanie C. Married Saturday, 18th of July, 2026. Australia, then a lakeside celebration. Melanie Chisholm, Melanie C., Sporty Spice, married the Australian model and producer Chris Dingwall. They used that same 2-ceremony structure, an intimate legal ceremony in Dingwall's home country, then a larger, more formal celebration with friends and family at a lakeside setting. There is a piece of fashion history sitting under this one that I don't think enough people have picked up on. Melanie C. spent the late 1990s as the single most influential argument against dressing up that British pop ever produced. The entire Sporty Spice construction, tracksuits, trainers, no heels, no gown, ever, was a genuine intervention in how young women were permitted to present themselves. It was not styling. It was a position. Millions of girls took their cues from it. Bridal wear, obviously, was the last frontier that image was ever going to reach. So a Spice Girl getting married in 2026 closes a very long loop. The generation that grew up on those 5 archetypes and on the idea that you could pick one and it was allowed to be yours is now the generation getting married, buying dresses, and deciding what a bride is permitted to look like. And you are going to see that inheritance everywhere from here on. A country star who had never worn a dress, a pop star who refused the gown entirely, a goth icon in full romance, a woman who released no images at all. Every one of them is a bride treating the wedding as a personal statement rather than a required costume. That argument was won in the 1990s. Sporty Spice helped win it. Number 14, Miracle Watts. Married Saturday, 25th July 2026, Acre Resort, Los Cabos, Mexico. Miracle Watts married Tyler Lepley. They met on the set of the Starz series P-Valley and had been together nearly 5 years. The guest list was small and intentionally so. And this wedding produced what I think is the most quietly moving detail in the entire countdown. Instead of a traditional bouquet toss, Watts dedicated her flowers to her mother. Sit with that, because there is real history in it. The bouquet toss is one of the oldest surviving wedding customs in the Western tradition, and its origins are not romantic. In its earliest forms, it was a way for the bride to escape guests who believed touching her or tearing a piece from her dress would transfer her luck. Throwing the flowers was a decoy. The modern reading, where the catcher is next to Mary, is a much later and much softer invention. What Watts did was take a ritual built around single women competing for a symbolic turn and redirect it entirely. From a game about the future to an acknowledgement of the past, from strangers to her mother. That is a genuine reworking of a tradition, done quietly, at a small wedding in Mexico, with no press release attached. And I would not be surprised to see it copied widely over the next few years, because it solves a problem a lot of brides have with the bouquet toss without abandoning the moment altogether. The flowers still get their moment, the camera still gets the shot, the meaning just changes hands. Destination wedding, beach resort, and the most thoughtful piece of ritual design of the year. Number 13, Crystal Hefner. Married Thursday, 2nd April 2026. The Cook Islands, South Pacific. Crystal Hefner married James Ward on Aitutaki in one of the most remote wedding locations of the year. She explained the choice to people directly. They picked the Cook Islands because of how remote it is. No big chain hotels, peaceful and authentic. Home, she said, to one of the most beautiful lagoons in the world. Reporting on the gown described an Oksana Muka design embellished with over 5,400 Swarovski crystals, a heavily worked dress for a barefoot lagoon setting, which is a more interesting tension than it first appears. Because here is the thing about destination bridal wear. The conventional wisdom says beach equals simple. Light fabric, no structure, no weight. The dress is supposed to defer to the location. It is one of the most repeated rules in bridal styling, and it is why so many island weddings produce forgettable photographs. Choosing 5,400 crystals for a South Pacific lagoon breaks that rule deliberately, and it works for a specific optical reason. Crystal reads against water and low sun in a way plain crepe simply does not. The location is doing the lighting. A heavily embellished gown is the only kind that can answer it. The context matters too. Hefner was married to Hugh Hefner from 2012 until his death in 2017, and she has spent the years since writing and speaking about reclaiming an identity that was, for a long time, constructed for her by somebody else. A remote island, no chain hotels, no crowd, and a dress chosen entirely on her own terms. Whatever you make of the crystals, the authorship is the point. Number 12, Giannina Jabeli. Married Saturday, 20th of June 2026, Rovinj, Croatia. The culmination of a week-long destination wedding that started in Venice. Janina Jabelli married Blake Horstman in front of nearly 100 guests. Their 2-year-old son, Heath, served as ring bearer. The logistics are worth laying out, because this was a genuinely ambitious piece of event design. Festivities opened in Venice on Monday, 15th of June, with a welcome party at Ristorante Agliarchi. On Wednesday, 17th of June, the entire party took a ferry across the Adriatic to Rovinj. The ceremony followed on Saturday, the 20th. Jabelli's father is Italian and her mother is half Croatian, and she told People she had fallen in love with Croatia on her first visit, long before she met Horstman, that she felt at home there and knew it was where she would marry. She described it as the love child of Italy and Greece. She also had, in her own words, multiple dresses. Anyone who knows her, Horstman said, would have expected nothing less. Here is what makes her a genuinely interesting bride in a fashion history sense. Jabelli was an original cast member of Love is Blind Season 1, and she is remembered for one of the most watched wedding scenes in streaming history, the one where she was left at the altar. She wore a wedding dress on camera, in front of millions, and did not get married in it. 6 years later, she did the whole thing again, on her own terms, in a country she chose, with her son carrying the rings. That is not just a good story. It is a rare case of a bride publicly rewriting an image the audience already had of her in a gown, and there are not many of those in the record. Number 11. Vanna White. Marriage announced. Wednesday, 21st of January 2026. Vanna White announced she had married her longtime partner John Donaldson in a private ceremony after more than a decade together. Her words, "Surprise. We got married." She wore a white bridal gown covered in pearl embellishment. The photograph she shared showed Donaldson carrying her bridal style. Here is why she cracks the top half of this countdown, and it has nothing to do with celebrity ranking. Vanna White has worn more evening gowns on camera than any woman in television history. Across 4 decades on Wheel of Fortune, she appeared in a new gown virtually every episode. Thousands of dresses, cataloged, dated, and watched by an audience that came to treat the outfit as part of the format. There is no comparable body of work anywhere in fashion, not on any red carpet, not in any magazine. Thousands of gowns worn by the same woman on the same set over 40 years in front of the same audience. It is an accidental archive of American evening wear from the 1980s to the present, the shoulders of the 80s, the minimalism of the 90s, the beating of the 2000s, recorded episode by episode. So when that woman finally chooses one dress for herself, it carries weight a first-time bride's gown simply cannot. And she chose pearls. Not crystals, not feathers, not 480,000 beads. Pearls, the oldest bridal embellishment there is, associated with purity and permanence for centuries before the modern white wedding existed at all. After a career built on spectacle, she went classic. And she announced it herself on her own account, with no press cycle whatsoever. Number 10. Thea Bouysen. Married July 2026, Necker Island, British Virgin Islands. Festivities began 14th of July 2026. Top 10. Thea Bouysen married Jimmy Donaldson, Miss Beast, the most subscribed individual on YouTube. The setting was Necker Island, Richard Branson's private island in the British Virgin Islands. Around 70 guests. A week of festivities beginning 14th of July that included kite surfing, snorkeling, and feeding the island's wildlife. The ceremony was officiated by a family friend and ordained minister. Bouysen, 28, wore a custom lace gown by Nicole's Felicia Couture. Donaldson, also 28, wore a cream and black tuxedo by Ralph Lauren. He announced it with a single line: he had found Mrs. Beast, and it was the best day of his life. She told People it was, in her word, heaven. Now, the fashion history point here is not the dress. It is the restraint. Donaldson films 28 days a month. His entire career is built on spectacle at maximum volume. He has given away islands on camera. His friends assumed he would propose at the Super Bowl, and he did the opposite twice. He proposed at home on Christmas Day 2024 with both families in the room, and when it came to the wedding, he told entertainment television that maybe they would take a photo, but no, it would not be filmed. Bouysen had said from the start that they were not going to attempt anything extravagant. Then they married on a private island with 70 people and released almost nothing. Hold on to that. because the higher we climb this countdown, the more it repeats. In 2026, the people with the largest distribution on Earth all independently arrived at the same conclusion. The most valuable thing they owned was the footage they chose not to publish. Wilson, incidentally, is South African and holds degrees across law, neuroscience, and psychology. They met in 2022 when Donaldson was visiting her home country. Maya Hawke. Married Saturday, 14th of February 2026, St. George's Episcopal Church, Manhattan, Valentine's Day in New York City. Maya Hawke married the singer-songwriter Christian Lee Hutson at St. George's on Stuyvesant Square, followed by a reception at the Players Club in Gramercy Park. The bride wore a white gown with a full ball gown silhouette and a lace veil, finished with a feathery white coat over the top. Newsweek reported the gown as Prada. Hutson wore a black tuxedo with a white shirt and vest and a floral boutonniere. That coat is why she is at number 9, and here is the argument. Almost nobody plans a February wedding, and the reason is not weather. It is that the wedding gown, as a garment, was standardized for spring and summer. Sleeveless, strapless, bare-shouldered. The entire vocabulary assumes warmth, which means a winter bride historically had two options: freeze in the photographs or ruin the line of the dress with something borrowed and functional. Hawke did neither. She treated outerwear as part of the look rather than an apology for the weather, a feathered white coat designed to be photographed, not shed. It is a small thing that solves a very old problem, and I expect to see a great deal more of it. The guest list was a Stranger Things reunion, weeks after the finale aired. Sadie Sink, Finn Wolfhard, Joe Keery, Gaten Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, Natalia Dyer, and Charlie Heaton all attended. So did her parents, Uma Thurman, in a baby blue floor-length gown, and Ethan Hawke, photographed carrying his daughter's bouquet as they walked. She and Hutson met making music. He was featured on her 2024 album, Chaos Angel. She has said more than once that the best thing you can do is date your friends.
Number 8. Gabriette Bechtel, married Saturday,
18th of July 2026, Castillo del Lago, Hollywood Hills, a Spanish-style estate once owned by Madonna. Gabriette Bechtel married Matty Healy of the 1975. The dress code was old Hollywood glamour, and the bride delivered on it completely. Bechtel wore a dramatic white gown with a sweetheart neckline, ruffled sleeves, an embroidered skirt, and a sweeping veil. Healy wore a classic black tuxedo with a floral corsage. What puts her this high is the gap between the bride's public image and the gown. Bechtel is a model and musician whose entire aesthetic identity is built on gothic, downtown, anti-romantic imagery. She is one of the defining faces of a very specific late 2020s look. Dark, sharp, deliberately unpretty in a way that takes enormous precision to pull off. And for her wedding, she wore a sweetheart neckline with ruffled sleeves. That is not a retreat. That is a bride who understands that the most subversive move available to an alternative style icon is showing up in full romantic regalia. The sweetheart neckline is one of the most conventional bridal necklines in existence. It dates to the 1930s and never really left. Wearing it at that estate, under that dress code, was a choice with a wink in it. The setting carried weight too. Castillo del Lago's Madonna Association links the day to a specific lineage of Los Angeles pop star excess, and choosing it was not accidental. The guest list was tight and pointed. Charli XCX and her husband George Daniel, Healy's bandmate in the 1975, plus Healy's parents, the actors Denise Welch and Tim Healy. Small guest list, enormous house, very deliberate dress. Number 7, Coco Jones. Married Saturday, 1st August 2026. Greenwich, Connecticut. Coco Jones married Donovan Mitchell. She wore a long, sleeveless silk gown. He wore a white tuxedo. Later, she changed into a reception gown with a flowing veil. Now, a long, sleeveless silk column is, on paper, the most restrained thing a bride can wear. No lace, no beading, no structure to hide behind. It depends entirely on the cloth and the fit, and it descends directly from 1990s minimalist bridal, the Carolyn Bassett school, where the statement is the absence of statement. For a Grammy-winning R&B artist in her loudest career year, choosing silence as the strategy was a real decision. And it is why she sits at number 7 rather than halfway down. The context explains it. At the Grammys in February, Jones told people she hoped the day could be intimate. She said she wanted to feel safe and vulnerable with the people around her. And she said something worth filing away. She had always known she would be a performer, but she wanted this moment to be hers, not about views or clicks or sales. She got it. Nothing surfaced until guests' videos circulated the following day. The first dance was Musique Soulchild's Love from 2000, a song older than a good portion of her own audience. The guest list leaned athletic. Ciara and Russell Wilson, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Bam Adebayo. Brown filmed Brunson on the dance floor and the clip went viral inside a day. They met at a networking event. Rumors started in September 2024 when they were spotted holding hands at an Usher concert in Las Vegas. Engagement, July 2025. Her own summary to People: she thinks about her life like business, then caught herself and called the marriage the biggest contract she had ever signed. Number 6, Georgina Rodrigues, married Tuesday, 11th of August 2026, Cascais, Portugal. A coastal town in western Portugal, near Lisbon. Georgina Rodrigues married Cristiano Ronaldo in a civil ceremony that their representatives described as a private and intimate moment attended by their 5 children. That is very nearly the entire official record. No photo shoot, no magazine exclusive, no dress reveal. They announced it with a joint Instagram post showing their hands and their wedding bands, both in white, captioned by Ronaldo with 3 characters: C, a heart, G. Consider the scale of that restraint. Ronaldo is the most followed athlete on the planet. Portuguese media spent days chasing the location and timing. At one point, press and fans reportedly descended on a completely different couple's wedding, convinced it was this one. And the actual event passed without a single leaked frame. The relationship ran a decade. They met in 2016 at a Gucci store in Madrid, where she was working as an associate and he was playing for Real Madrid. From there, it traveled to Italy, England, and Saudi Arabia, while she built a modeling and business career and the Netflix series I Am Georgina. The engagement came in August 2025. She announced it herself with a photograph of the ring and a caption that translates as, "Yes, I do. In this and in all my lives." The ring was designed by the jeweler Iñaki Torres, an oval-cut diamond reported in the region of 40 to 45 carats, flanked by 2 triangle-cut stones. For years, the expectation had been Funchal Cathedral in Madeira, his birthplace after the World Cup. Portuguese reporting had been building toward exactly that. Instead, a civil ceremony in a seaside town with their children in the room. Sometimes the fashion story is that there wasn't one, and at number 6, that is precisely the point. Number 5, Harriet Sperling. Married Saturday, 6 June 2026, All Saints Church, Kemble, Cirencester. Top 5. About 2 hours from London, Harriet Sperling married Peter Phillips, son of Princess Anne and the eldest grandchild of the late Queen Elizabeth II, the first royal wedding since 2020. The gown was custom Amelia Wickstead. British Vogue reported months of planning and hundreds of hours of handwork. The construction: a square neck column underdress, a delicate lace overjacket fitted at the waist, and a dramatic 3-meter train. The overjacket is the clever part, and here is why. A royal bride in a village church faces competing demands. Ecclesiastical modesty. Photographing well from a distance, in daylight, from behind a rope line. Looking ceremonial without looking theatrical. This was a private wedding, not a state occasion. And it has to work on a woman who is a working NHS pediatric nurse from Gloucestershire, not a public figure by profession. A column underdress with a separate lace overjacket solves all of it. The column gives a clean, modern line. The overjacket supplies coverage and ceremonial weight. And because it detaches, she has a lighter second silhouette the moment the church doors close. The 3-meter train handles the grandeur. That is genuine design problem solving, and it is why she outranks brides in far more expensive dresses. Her bridesmaids were her 15-year-old daughter, Georgina Sperling, alongside Peter's daughters, Savannah and Isla Phillips, a blended family bridal party and the visual centerpiece of the day. The congregation included King Charles and Queen Camilla, Princess Anne and Sir Timothy Lawrence, Zara and Mike Tyndall, Prince Edward and Sophie, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, in nude tweed by Roland Mouret. The reception was at Gatcombe Park, Princess Anne's estate. Two footnotes. Both had been married before, so the couple needed special permission to marry in a church, and the engagement was only announced on the 1st of August 2025, a 10-month engagement, brisk by royal standards. The British press had already named her influence on sales. They called it the Harriet effect. Number 4, Zendaya. Married, 2026, exact date never disclosed. Wedding celebration, Tuesday, 4th of August 2026, Surrey, England. Number 4 carries the biggest asterisk on this list. Here is exactly what is confirmed and what is not. Confirmed, she and Tom Holland are married. On the 1st March at the Actor Awards, her longtime stylist Law Roach told Access Hollywood the wedding had already happened, and that you missed it. Asked if that was true, he said it was very true, and walked away. In June, Holland effectively confirmed it in an Esquire cover story. Asked about family who might have missed the wedding, he said they were all there. Across the press tours for Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and The Odyssey, he began calling her his wife. She was photographed wearing both an engagement ring and a wedding band throughout. Reported, but not officially confirmed, sources told JWoww the couple married in Lake Como. On the 4th of August, TMZ and People reported a wedding celebration at the Beaverbrook Hotel in Surrey, near Holland's hometown of Kingston upon Thames, where neither guests nor staff were permitted phones. Not confirmed at all, the dress. There are no official photographs. There is no confirmed designer. Anything circulating that claims to show her gown should be treated with suspicion. This was the year that AI-generated wedding images of this couple went viral before the wedding was even acknowledged. Holland referenced them directly in interviews. So how does a bride with no visible dress reach number 4? Because the absence is the story. Zendaya has spent a decade as the most documented red carpet figure of her generation, working with Law Roach on looks studied frame by frame. And for the single most anticipated appearance of her life, she produced nothing. In an era where a wedding is a content strategy, having no content at all is a statement. Of everything on this list, it may be the choice most widely copied over the next decade. Number 3, Lainey Wilson. Married Sunday, 10th of May, 2026. Ruskin Cave, Dixon, Tennessee. Mother's Day. And my favorite gown of the entire year. Lainey Wilson married Devlin Duck Hodges in custom Oscar de la Renta. Silk fail. Dégradé cherry blossom embroidery. The blossoms shift in density across the fabric, rather than sitting in a uniform pattern. And a detachable Watteau train, which falls from the shoulders rather than the waist, named after the 18th century painter and revived periodically in couture ever since. The count, over 1,500 hand-embroidered fail cherry blossoms and over 20,000 bugle bead and crystal embellishments. She told Vogue the cherry blossom represents living in the moment, and that living in the moment was exactly what they did. Now here is the fact that puts her on the podium. Wilson is famous for not wearing dresses. She turns up to major country awards shows in trousers, consistently, as a matter of identity. And she indicated this was the first time she had ever worn a dress. So the most embroidered gown of the year was worn by a woman who had never worn a gown. That is not a fashion statement. That is a fashion event. She wore it with Louboutin heels and later changed into golden West boots studded with Swarovski crystals. Hodges wore a mallard green D Laquaniti suit with a bolo tie and a Charlie one-horse hat. The setting earns its own paragraph. The ceremony took place on a cobblestone ledge at the foot of a waterfall. She arrived in a white horse-drawn carriage. The reception was held inside an actual cave. They found the venue by accident. Driving back roads, they spotted a billboard. He asked if she wanted to get married there. She said, "Done deal." Cajun catering, a 12-piece jazz band, and her dog Hippie in the photographs. 20,000 crystals, and they weren't taking themselves seriously. Number 2, Taylor Swift. Married Friday, 3rd of July 2026. Madison Square Garden, New York City. The biggest wedding of the decade, and it is only number 2. I will explain why in a moment. Taylor Swift married Travis Kelce in a Christian Dior haute couture gown by Jonathan Anderson, made in Dior's ateliers at 30 Avenue Montaigne in Paris. Kelce wore Dior couture by the same designer. Both wore custom Christian Louboutin. She wore Cartier. Here is the line from Dior's statement that matters. This was Anderson's first couture wedding dress for a world-renowned celebrity. Think about that. Anderson had just taken over Dior's women's, men's, and haute couture collections, and one of the first major couture commissions of his tenure was the most photographed wedding of the decade. A house betting its new creative direction on a single garment in public with no margin for error. And then nobody saw it. They locked the venue down completely. No photographs emerged from inside. Details came out through guests. A Dior spokesperson told the New York Times the dress would eventually be revealed and confirmed Swift would be the first to share it herself on her own platform. The gown existed as a rumor before it existed as an image. What reporting confirms, a long veil and train, close to her established style rather than a departure from it. The structure was unusual. No bridesmaids, no groomsmen. Austin Swift was man of honor, Jason Kelce best man, Adam Sandler officiated. A press release confirmed 1,000 guests across 2 days. The garden marquee lit up, just T&T married. Arrivals in black tie included Hugh Grant, Ethan Hawke, Jason Sudeikis, Dakota Johnson, Julianne Moore, Bradley Cooper, and Gigi Hadid. One footnote. For months, the wedding was reported as 13 June at Ocean House in Rhode Island. It wasn't. Remember that the next time a wedding is reported as settled 6 months out. So why number 2? Because this is a fashion history channel, and I cannot rank a dress I have never seen above one I can describe stitch by stitch. When she posts it, that may change. Until then, the crown goes to the bride who showed us everything. Number 1, Dua Lipa. Married? Sunday, 31st of May 2026, London, and Saturday, 6th of June 2026, Palermo, Sicily. Number 1. And she got married twice. Ceremony 1. 31st May, Old Marylebone Town Hall, London. A civil ceremony in a custom white skirt suit by Schiaparelli Couture, designed by Daniel Roseberry. She posted the images on 2nd of June, including where a wide white hat hides both her face and Callum Turner's as they kiss. A tailored skirt suit for a town hall wedding is a knowing reference. It runs straight back through Bianca Jagger in 1971 and the whole tradition of the bride who refuses the gown. Ceremony 2. 6 June, Villa Valguarnera, an 18th century mansion outside Palermo, Sicily. 3 days of celebration. This is the one that goes into the books. She wore Chanel haute couture by Matthieu Blazy, the first Chanel couture wedding dress of his tenure, handcrafted at 31 Rue Cambon. Chanel's own numbers, 480,000 beads and jewels, and 25,000 feathers. A figure-hugging silhouette, high neckline. A sweeping train finished in feathers, a long embroidered veil attached to a feathered headpiece. Turner wore a black tuxedo with a red flower at the lapel. Vogue reported the suit as custom Louis Vuitton. And there were more looks. A backless Bottega Veneta leather halter by Louise Trotter for the welcome party, carrying the house's intrecciato weave, plus Chloé across the weekend. Official photographs by David Sims, released 20th of June. Now here is why she takes the top spot. Every other bride in this countdown gave us a moment. Dua Lipa gave us a complete record. 4 designers, 2 ceremonies, 2 countries, a civil look and a couture look, all of it documented. Credited and released on her own terms. Schiaparelli, Chanel, Bottega Veneta, Chloé. That is not a wedding, that is a collection. And she did it in the same summer that Jonathan Anderson debuted at Dior with Taylor Swift's gown. 2 of the most powerful houses on earth, 2 brand new creative directors, 2 debut bridal commissions, 6 weeks apart. One of them we may never see. The other one is the most fully documented couture wedding of the 21st century. That is your number 1. 20 brides and 4 threads running through all of them. 1. 2026 was the year of the couture debut. Blazy at Chanel, 480,000 beads and 25,000 feathers. Anderson at Dior, the house's first celebrity couture wedding dress under his name. 6 weeks apart, 2 houses staking entirely new creative eras on a single garment each. That has no precedent, and it will be studied for decades. 2. Secrecy became a luxury good. Zendaya released nothing. Georgina Rodriguez ended a decade of speculation with a photograph of 2 hands. Emma Roberts went to Idaho. Miss Beast, a man who films 28 days a month, married on a private island and published almost none of it. Taylor Swift filled Madison Square Garden with 1,000 people and still controlled every image out of the building. The people with the largest distribution on Earth all worked out the same thing. Withholding is stronger than releasing, and the audience will build the myth for you if you give them nothing. 3. The split ceremony went mainstream. Legal act first, in ordinary clothes, on your own terms. Celebration later, as production. Jade Jones did it in a sundress at a license office. Dua Lipa did it in Schiaparelli at a town hall. Same structure, opposite budgets. And 4. The one that actually defines the year. The bride outranked the occasion. Look at what these women wore against what was expected of them. Lainey Wilson, who had never worn a dress in her life, in 20,000 crystals. Dua Lipa in a skirt suit. Gabriette, fashion's reigning goth, in a sweetheart neckline. Vanna White, after 4 decades and thousands of gowns, in plain pearls. Maya Hawke refusing to be cold in her own photographs. Brooke Hyland in her mother's veil. Not one of those is a woman executing a template. Everyone is a woman making an argument. For most of the 20th century, the wedding dress was a costume the bride stepped into. The occasion dictated the garment, and the woman came second. Grace Kelly's gown in 1956 was designed by her studio's costume department. Sit with that phrase for a second. Her studio's costume department. 70 years later, the gown answers to the bride. That is the 20 most beautiful brides of 2026. Tell me in the comments whether I got the top 2 the wrong way round. I suspect half of you think Taylor should have taken it, and I want to hear the case. And if you want a full deep dive on any single one of these, say so, and I will build it. The Chanel and Dior parallel alone is worth its own episode. Subscribe for more fashion history. I'll see you in the next one.